those who could not be here, I've talked to some colleagues in the field who said the snow is starting to get the better of them. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. Thank you for being here. This is the first of the two webinars as we get ready for indicator 14 for the 22-23 school year. And I'm going to turn it over to Carol Oakley with Data Driven Enterprises.
Hi, I'm Carol Oakley, and I'm a researcher at Data Driven Enterprises. And we are contracted with the Wyoming Department of Education to collect the Indicator 14 post-school outcome survey data. This is part one of a two-part webinar series to go over the Indicator 14 collection on the Wyoming SpedLink site. Today, I'm going to go over the student information collection, and then on May 8th, I'll guide you through the process for conducting the phone interviews. So the Indicator 14 post-school data collection is when students with disabilities who either graduated, dropped out, or aged out the year before are called and asked about their education, training, and employment experiences. Districts will update student contact information on the Wyoming SpedLink website. The first step will be going to the SpedLink site and logging in. If you do not have an account set up, you can contact Sheila or me and we'll get an account created for you. So once you are logged into the site, your second step is to go to the collections menu on the left side of the screen and select Indicator 14. Then the list of students for your district will already be populated in the table on the page. So you want to make sure the 2022-23 Indicator 14 option is selected in the collection drop-down menu. Next, you'll see the blue buttons that are located above the student table. The instructions button on this page are instructions for the contact information collection. Feel free to reference these instructions when needed. Now the preliminary reports button is in the middle. And when you click on this button, you'll see a drop-down menu for 3 preliminary reports: response rate, item frequency, and comments. These are real-time reports and update as new data is added to the site. The item frequency and comments reports are for the interview data, and we'll review them during the next webinar. The response rate report is where you'll be able to view the progress of both the contact information collection and the interviews. The number of exiters and population column shows the number of students with exit codes of graduated with a certificate, graduated with diploma, dropped out, and maximum age eligibility on the previous year's June 684 special education file. Then number with contact info and number without contact info columns show the number of students with, without phone numbers, email addresses in the student table. The number do not call column shows the number of students who are deceased or returned to high school. And the last 3 columns show the progress of the interviews. If you'd like to have a snapshot of the response rate report in a spreadsheet, you can click on the Export to Excel button at the top of the page. Now, the last 3 buttons on the right side of the screen are to download, upload, and save the contact information, and we'll go over that shortly. For the contact information data collection, you or another district staff member will add the contact information for each student listed in the table. This includes home phone, student cell phone, and student email address. In addition, if you have contact information for a student's family member, please add the family member's name, phone number, cell phone number, and email address. The additional information will assist in getting a higher response rate. You might see some students in the pre-populated table who should not be called. The students who should not be called are those that return to high school or are deceased. If you notice some students who fit this criteria, click on the Do Not Call drop-down menu and select the appropriate reason. The Return to High School option should only be selected if you know for sure that the student returned to high school sometime between September 2022 and May 2023. If the student is working toward a GED, then that does not count as return to high school. Earning a GED is considered a post-secondary activity. Now I'll show you how to update contact information for the students. There are two methods you can choose from. The first method is to update the contact information in the table itself. Click within the cells of the table and enter the appropriate information for each student. Be sure to click Save at the top of the screen when you are done updating the information. If you do not click the Save button, your changes will not be saved. You should click Save. You should click Save whenever you need to step away from the computer to make sure you do not lose any work. The second method for updating contact information is to download the spreadsheet, update the information in the spreadsheet, and upload the updated spreadsheet back to the site. For this method, you'll click the download button at the top of the student table. After you've completed the spreadsheet, upload it to the website. No, and sorry, I'm going to back up a little bit. You must use the downloaded spreadsheet. You cannot create your own template. This downloaded spreadsheet is predefined and pre-populated with the student names and WISER IDs. You'll fill in the rest of the fields with the information and save the spreadsheet to your computer. You cannot alter any tab or column names. So after you've completed the spreadsheet, upload it to the website. To do this, click the Upload button at the top of the table to locate the Excel file on your computer. Next, click the Save button at the top of the table. If you do not have contact information for a student, do not enter NA, 0, or anything else in the phone number or email address fields. Leave them blank. You can make a note that there is no contact information for the student in the notes field. Districts will be able to update contact information between now and April 28th. If you have any technical questions about the site, you can contact Catherine Dunlap from Data Driven Enterprises. If you have any content questions about the Indicator 14, you can contact Sheila Tamal from the Wyoming Department of Education. And does anybody have any questions so far?
All right. Thanks, Carol. So to those of you who have done this before, it's pretty much the same process. It is important that you have that information into the system by April 29th 28th, is it 29th? 28th, because that will populate into the surveys when you guys get ready to conduct your surveys. The other thought is the reason you want to make sure that you get as much information, contact information in there, is that we do some follow-ups after you guys are finished if we can't get them, to try to get response rates up. So any contact information will be helpful to us on that end as well. So are there any questions?
Sheila, this is Erin Brinson from Upton. I have a question for you. We were wondering if we did not have any students that graduated last year, is there something that we still have to do? Do we have to just put down those students, or?
So you, Data Driven will, if you get into the system, Data Driven will have already uploaded the list. You may not have graduates, but if you have dropouts, they will be in there, as well as any students who may have aged out. So just because you did not have graduates, don't forget to get in there and look to make sure that your other students are accounted for.
Okay, and if there's no students in there, then we're good. We don't do anything further.
Yeah, if there are no Wisers in there, you are good.
Okay, thank you.
Sheila, I have a quick question. This is Laura Pacholi in Albany County.
Okay. Hi, Laura.
So, hi, I know we've emailed a bunch. So this year, are we gonna have students on our list for indicator 14 as young as 7th or 8th grade who have left the district but have not re-enrolled in a Wyoming school? Because I had several of those last year. And it was kind of odd to call the families because they didn't even know who I was. So I just feel like it kind of skewed our data.
So Catherine, do you want to address the sample that you guys pull that we use?
Yeah, I can take a look at that real quick. I do know that if they're in 8th grade or 7th grade, just by default, they are included in the sample. We can't really exclude them just because they moved out of state. You know, we can take a look and see if any of those students are in 8th grade. Otherwise, I mean, if you have any concerns, we can't really get rid of them out of the sample, even if they are in 8th grade and they moved. I understand it's a very awkward situation. It's just kind of the way that it works with this system. I can take a look though for you and see if there's anyone in particular who meets that criteria this year.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I bring it up, well, a couple of reasons. One is the questions are not at all applicable to them because like developmentally and age-wise, they're not even thinking about, you know, post-secondary or employment at that time. And additionally, unless they have an older sibling who I've worked with in the past, the families don't have any idea who I am or what transition programming is or anything about their transition plans on the IEP. They have never even, you know, gotten to the point of doing those yet. So it almost, sometimes it feels a little bit like I'm harassing them because they're like, we don't have answers for you, or, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of, it's just a little bit odd.
Yeah,
It is, yeah.
And I think
Oh,
that
go ahead, Sheila.
I was just going to say, sorry, Catherine, it's probably because
fine.
of their age that's how they are being addressed. And so we don't have a whole lot of control over that. I mean, OSEP sets us the requirement of how, you know, what kids we need to pull. And so the fact that they would be considered transition age, but are considered dropouts is what ends up flagging them for us.
Yeah, it looks like for you in Albany 1, you don't have that issue again this year with your students. It doesn't look like that, at least. If you do find any that we have listed that you think we're in 8th grade and that's an issue, you can let us know. But again, unfortunately, we can't just take them off for that reason. It's, you know, unfortunately, like Sheila said, just the way the system works. So.
Sure. No, that makes sense. I actually think I even had some that were younger. I'm looking right now just to see for sure that were even younger than the transition age. But okay, cool. As long as there's nothing on there this year and I can just contact someone if we're running into issues. It's just, I have a hard time getting a hold of them and I think it impacts our data collection and our percentages and things like that. So.
Yeah, it does. And I understand that it's very hard to get a hold of them. It's just that they, we have to leave them in even if you can't get a hold of them, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
This is Kim Sanford. I have a quick question. I just pulled up my list and I actually have a student on there who actually graduated with a regular diploma. So the do not call list would not meet the criteria for that.
No, actually they can graduate. It's just that they exited. So they can graduate, they can drop out, or they can age out of the system.
Are you saying, Kim, that the kiddo was exited from SPED services and is that what?
I guess I'll call you about it later, Sheila.
Perfect.
I think it's going to be a unique one.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions or thoughts? And that's perfect. If as you're working through this, if you come across some wisers that don't make sense, please reach out to me and I can work to see where and how that kiddo, if there's a concern or a question, we can make sure that that gets into your data. Otherwise, May 8th at 2 p.m., we will do a webinar on how to actually conduct the interviews. Those of you who have new people or people who have not conducted interviews before, it would be a good time because we will walk them through the system so that they are assured to know how to accurately indicate in the system what they're finding or what they're getting from those interviews. So if there's no other questions, I thank you for your time and I hope you have a good day and I hope that you're not getting buried in snow. So much for spring in Wyoming. When it gets done transitioning, can you upload it to the WinWeb for me? I send it
Yep,
over
that
to you,
works for me.
or does it go to,
Yes.
I can never remember if I send it to you or if I send it to Amy.
No, if you send it to Amy,